In this lecture, I am going to discuss operator overloading function as a friend function. See students, as you know, a friend function is an external function which can access the private members of a class. But basically, a friend function is not an ideal situation in all the programming requirements. Why? Because a friend function violates the basic principle of object-oriented programming, that is data hiding, because a friend function is able to access the private members of a class. But there are times when the use of a friend function is compulsory to use, and this is one of the situations that we are going to discuss. It's a very interesting example. Now see, I have written a skeleton of the program. Here we have got a class called accounts. It has got two private instance variables, namely credit and debit. This is a constructor. Basically, this is constructor with default argument values. Constructor with default argument values. This constructor will be used if we pass two parameters. If we pass one parameter, even then it will not result into error message. Reason being, if we are going to pass one parameter, that will be collected by the first formal parameter, that is credit 1, and the second formal parameter debit 1, that will be assumed to be 0, that is default argument value. Now see, and this is the operator overloading function for plus operator that we will be writing in our next part 2 lecture. But see, first we are going to discuss the problem that we are going to solve with the help of operator overloading function. What is the problem? That is the thing that we are going to discuss. Now see, in the function main, here I have instantiated an object AC1. So the values that will be created for this, the values those will be initialized for this object AC1 would be 10,700. Similarly, AC2 20,800. This is going to be the value of values of the object AC2. This is the object accounts AC3. Now what we want is, we should write AC3 is equal to AC1 plus 50,000. As we have written the operator overloading function, now as per the rule, what should be taking place is, operator overloading function for plus operator that should be invoked. But see, this is the object. On the left side of the plus operator is an object. It will automatically become the current object, and 50,000, it should be an object, but right now it is not an object, it is an ordinary numeric value. It belongs to, this value belongs to integer data type. Now what will happen is, now 50,000 value is going to be converted into an object, and this is something which will take place automatically. What will happen is, 50,000, this value cannot be passed to the operator overloading function. Why? Because it is a normal integer value. And in operator overloading function, as you know, the formal parameter is an object of the class accounts. So what will happen is, the control is bound to go to this constructor, rather I should say constructor with default argument values. Now credit 1, the value 50,000 will be passed to the formal parameter credit 1. This credit 1 will be assigned to the instance variable credit. Because 50,000 is a single value, the formal parameter will be assumed to be 0. So debit 1, the value 0 will be put into the instance variable debit. So basically, this is what we will be getting. This is your credit, this is your debit. The values for this 50,000 will be converted into an object, and it will be having the values for credit would be 50,000 and that for debit would be 0. Right? Now see, afterwards, because 50,000 has been converted into an object, now it is pretty clear that your operator overloading function would be invoked. AC1 as per the rule will become the current object, and 50,000 which has been converted into an object by the default argument value constructor, that would be passed as a formal parameter to this operator overloading function, and your task will be done. There won't be any problem. Now see, we come to the very next statement AC3 is equal to 50,000 plus AC1. And very intriguingly, this statement is not going to work. There is not much difference between the two statements. In this case, we have got 50,000 normal data type value onto the right side of the plus operator. In this case, that happens to be present on the left side of the plus operator. But here, as I have indicated, it is going to result into error. Reason being, because as per the rule of operator overloading function, whenever an operator overloading function is invoked, the object on the left side is considered to be the current object, and object on the right side is considered to be the passing object. Now, see carefully, current object has to be a pure object in the very beginning. There is no concept of converting an integer value into the current object. So, in this, in the above example, 50,000 was very conveniently converted into an object because it was the passing object. But in this case, because 50,000 tends to become the current object, it cannot be allowed, because in the place of current object, there should be an already pure object. There is no concept of converting an integer value into a current object. So it is going to fall flat. It is not going to work. Here comes the role of operator overloading function as a friend function. Now what is the solution? I want to make this statement work like the other statement is working. Now what is the solution? Now as you can see, the concept of current object in this place is going to create the problem for us. Now what we people are going to do is, we are going to write down our operator overloading function as an external function. So now operator overloading function will be written outside the class. So we would be writing the operator overloading function as an external function. Now in this case, what will happen is, the concept of current object, that will be dropped, because this time over operator overloading function happens to be an external function which is not member function of the class. So by that means, the concept of current object is going to be dropped. So now what will happen is, 50,000 can be conveniently converted into an object, and that will be passed to the operator overloading function. AC1 is already a pure object, that too will be passed to the operator overloading function, and our task will be done. So how do we achieve that? So see in the next part of this lecture, titled operator overloading function as a friend function. Thank you.